Oh my goodness.
In a world of chaos and questionable poops,
You guys have some stinky poops.
with threats of lawsuits
I can't believe it.
and defamation reign, where kittens patiently wait for their turn with a single brain cell. Actually, if anyone sees it, we're desperate to find it. Things are falling apart over here. Everything will finally be about them.
Okay. I'm sorry. Hi. Oh my god. Hold on. There was what looked like smeared poop on the ground, and I thought I just smeared it with my butt because I was trying to be all creative and funny. Ugh. Alright. I gotta clean it. Hello, welcome back. I had a completely different intro planned that was gonna be ha ha hee ha very funny, but poop will never fail to make it about itself. So here we are. 2023, nothing's changed. I know in December I said I was gonna take 2 weeks off somewhere. I'm sure I announced it somewhere, but you know, I probably didn't. And here we are a month later. But I figured, what's the best way to start off the new year than a little bit of a recap of 2022? You guys probably just saw the wonderful, beautiful promo that Kay made for the Screamies. Yes, it is our annual award show featuring all the kittens who have come through this house in 2022, and it was a lot. We will have all kinds of categories and so many fun things and sponsors and everything leading up to the event. Right now, all you need to know is 1, it is our annual fundraiser for Miss Dixie's Kitten Rescue. If you are able and you want to support Miss Dixie's Kitten Rescue, we have a donation link down below. You can either choose to be a one-time donor or a monthly donor. $5, $10, it doesn't matter. Anything that you are able to donate helps us and goes straight to the kittens. The second thing you need to know is that it's going to be on March 25th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So save your calendars, or mark your calendars. Save the date. I combined and made them one. That made no sense. Okay, so without further ado, because I have a feeling this is gonna be a long video because I went through and wrote down everyone who came through my house last year, and it is a lot. Hopefully, 2023 we have better boundaries and we learn to rely on other people a little bit more and not think that we are some superhero that can do everything, because that's impossible. Teamwork makes the dream work, you know what I'm saying? Sorry if you hear chaos in the background. I have Britta, Aussie, Svetlana, Boris, Katja, and Hootie Booty in here, so hopefully someone will make an appearance, but if not, whatever. I took notes. I took notes. So, 2022 actually started off in 2021 when we brought little Gizmo here to the rescue. Gizmo, as you guys know, was found in Texas by a wonderful human who unfortunately passed away, and their family lives here and was contacting rescues around here and contacted us and said, hey, if we bring Gizmo, their name was something else, I forget what their name was, if we bring Gizmo, would you take him? And we were like, yeah, absolutely. So Gizmo came to the rescue. As we know, Gizmo was adopted shortly after last year's Screamies by a wonderful human. They're living their best life in Virginia. We also, around that time, got Mr. Bruno. Mr. Bruno, no, we don't talk about Bruno, as a little baby found in the lawn. We remember him for his no brain cell antics. Hello? It's not your turn yet. Look at this girl. He was found alone in a lawn by himself. He came here and he was nothing but easy and wonderful and just a good guy. It was about this time that I made my very big life decision to apply to vet school. It was only January, but with applications being due in September, I had to do quite a few things in order to prepare. So That was a big life decision. Thus began prepping for vet school. Around mid-February, everything started picking up the pace. We got our first contact about 2 little girls who were born literally the day before and were abandoned by their mom. That is when Candela and Casita entered the rescue. If anyone's ever gonna get into fostering, you want a Candela and Casita for your first round. Easy, sweet, nothing's wrong with them, just wonderful, amazing little girls. I adored them. I was obsessed with them. I don't have favorites, but man, those girls were just something special. Children, look at this. She always comes in here and starts drama. So then it became very apparent, and we all knew this, Bruno was gonna need a buddy. So in around end of February, beginning of March, we got a call about a little kitten that was found in a parking lot behind a farm. Thus began our first big TNR project of the year, and when we met little Miss Tulip. Now, as you know, Tulip had to quarantine by herself at a different foster home for 2 weeks before she could meet Bruno, but she came here and they became the best of friends. And just to remind you, here's how their meeting went. After Tulip came here, we had Bruno and Tulip, we had Candela and Casita. Bugle and Splatter were still with us, although it was about time for them to be adopted, and Gizmo had gone to another home. Things were already very chaotic at this point. I already felt a little bit on edge, and going to the vet to shadow multiple times a week did not make things easier. But I couldn't really have predicted what would happen next, and thus began some of the highest highs and lowest lows of 2022. We got a call about a cat with mastitis. It was one of the worst cases of mastitis I had ever seen. Warning, I'm gonna show the picture here. Please look away. If this bothers you, it'll only be on there for a few seconds. This was the case of mastitis. Horrible. And then we also got her 5 babies. Now with mastitis, because it is an infection of the mammary glands, the mammary tissue, she couldn't actually nurse the kittens, and the infection that was happening here got onto the kittens, so they were pretty sick. That is when we got our H3C3 crew. If you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. If you don't, that's fine. We had Ethan, Ela, Cleo, Chloe, and Cricket. H3C3. These guys were wonderful. I thought, no problem, we have little bottle babies, we'll split them up, 2 and 3, it'll be easy. Then they tested positive for Panleuk, and that was probably the scariest moment of my life. It wasn't very mommy vlogger of me to record the immediate events that happened after I found that the kittens tested positive for Panleukopenia, but I can summarize them for you. Panic, tears, meltdown, acceptance, manic sanitation, game plan. Everyone got kicked out of that room and it was just chaos. While all this was going on, we got a call about a wonderful boy who we all know, love, and adore, who tested positive for FIV and was at risk for euthanasia. That was Iron. Iron, as we all know, is the perfect man, the perfect gentleman, the angriest, sweetest grandpa in the entire universe. And we were pretty open in that time. Like January, February is usually a pretty open time for fosters. We usually have a lot of space. So I was like, yeah, sure, we can take him on, no problem. So we got him and got him to foster. He was safe. Iron doesn't come back into the picture until about July, so hang on tight to that one. After the H3C3 crew, we took on a little baby named Concrete. This was her. This is like the only picture or video I have of her, because we only had her for a few days until she suddenly passed. I don't really know why she passed. I have a sneaky suspicion that because Moo and crew got Panleuk, which we'll get to, after H3C3, that she had contracted Panleuk and just passed away from that. This is a little bit probably TMI, but whenever kittens pass in my care, it is usually one of 2 things. It's either I really knew it was coming, like I could tell the writing was on the wall, they were just failing to thrive and I'd done everything I can, and I almost pre-grieved for them. So when they pass, it's kind of like, okay, they aren't suffering anymore, or if we make that decision to bring them to the vet for them to be put down, you know, they're not suffering anymore. It's kind of like a, okay, well, they're not suffering, we're good. But Concrete was very sudden and I wasn't expecting it. So I woke up one morning to feed her and she was just gone. So that was really difficult. After Concrete, we brought on our dynamic 4. So that is Wally, Tato, Edna and Jack Jack. The 4 little individual babies who just caused so much chaos in this house. As we remember, Wally was our angry, sweet grandpa. Tato had literally no brains. Absolutely none. Jack Jack was, although a girl, perfectly defined by her name and her crazy jumping moments. And then there was Edna, my crusty busty little girl who I love dearly. What a gal. We all know that Jack Jack and Edna got adopted together. Wally joined another wonderful family, and Tato, of course, got adopted as well. The next group of babies came from the most epic chase scene I have ever done in my entire life. Please enter the Cowboy Bebop era. I actually had gotten a call that day about another group of kittens, some little 2-day-old kittens who were not doing well that the mom had essentially abandoned. My guess is actually they were Faye and Spike's siblings because of the timeline of how it lined up. These 3 were failure to thrive. They just didn't make it. But while I was there, I spotted with my little eye a Cowboy and Bebop. And while Bebop was really easy to grab, Cowboy was like, man, that boy was difficult. Epic chase scene commence. So we got them, came to the vet that day to have the other kittens assessed, and unfortunately they passed on the trip down. But then that's when Moo and crew entered the scene. As those kittens passed, literally around the corner came a cardboard box full of Moo, Crust, and Davy. And I took them home that day, and it was wonderful. Ultimately, we know that Krusty, Davy, and Moo contracted Panleuk, which was unfortunate, but thankfully it was not the deadly variety, so it was all good. And Cowboy and Bebop had ringworm and all kinds of other things, as we learned after they got adopted, which is not ideal. Look at this girl. Can you remember how bad she looked? You're so beautiful. She's over it. So then, during one of our TNR adventures, we actually trapped a mom who was nursing, and the vet techs were like, hey, while we spayed her, we noticed she was lactating, so she probably has some babies out there. So we called the caretaker, and we were like, yo, are there babies there? And she was like, word, let me go look. And then we were like, hey, any luck? And she was like, found them. That is when Mama Noble and her guesses entered our care. They stayed in the garage. Mama Noble hated me. It was beautiful. Eventually, Mama Noble went back, and the babies went to Bethany before they were adopted. As we continued our TNR missions, we, surprise, found more kittens, because that is what we do down here. In the span of a few days, we rescued Charlie and Wilbur from the farm, and we also got Spike and Faye from Cowboy and Bebop's colony. Unfortunately, we know that Spike passed from Panleukopenia, unrelated to Moo and crew, and Faye miraculously made it and eventually joined Moo and crew. And Charlie and Weber were wonderful babies, but Charlie had the worst poops I'd ever smelled in my entire existence. Oh my god, they were horrible. Next were 2 of the year's probably more popular kittens, mainly because they reminded all of you of a certain someone who I don't have to name, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, were Calvin and Hobbs. So Calvin, as you know, was found in the road, or maybe you don't know, was found in the road, and he was essentially lifeless. He was brought to the vet. They gave him a chance, and he thrived. He had the loudest scream, though. I can't believe it. I'm sorry. And Hobbs had no brain cells. Hobbs was found in a parking lot. He was a bottle baby. He went to one foster and then came to me. And he and Calvin became the best of friends. Honestly, Calvin, despite his lack of brain cells, was like the perfect cat. His only problem is that he became very obsessed with nibbling on toes, and his mom says that he still does that. And Hobbs was just, I mean, here's a picture of him just being himself. He is still a 1 brain cell king, and finally is getting neutered because his other horse went into the barn. Next, we had the Dink fam enter the chat. So the Dink fam, which was Spider Beach, Aquaman, Landshark, and Corn on the Cob, but instead of the cornbone, it's a hot dog. They were found by someone and brought to another organization. And after a few days, she called me and said, hey, one of these kittens is not doing well. Can you come assess? And I was like, absolutely, it's what I do. So Bethany and I went out there. It was Aquaman, and he was definitely not doing well. But thankfully it just was a case of dehydration and low blood sugar. So once we got him hydrated and we got his sugar up, he was good and stable. But I brought him here and eventually brought Spider Beach here, and then eventually brought Land Shark and Corn on the Cob, and instead of the corn bun, it's a hot dog. Then we had Jasmine join them, and as we know, Jasmine was just a sweet, wonderful girl. And then I discovered that there was surprise ringworm. The Dink fan had ringworm, and it was unfortunate. It made me very stressed, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. At the end of it, they cleared it, and everyone got adopted and are in wonderful homes. But around the time that the Dink fam came, we got the infamous Sorry, you should hear the things that I say around my house to these cats. It's atrocious. Mushroom was found in the middle of the night by the caretaker. She called me and said, hey, I found this baby kitten. I'm flying out of the state today, so I don't know what else to do. So she left him on her porch in a cage. I went and got him, and that's how Mushroom came to us. We all know him for his infamous inability to latch, but let us not forget that 48 hours after entering my care, he also tested positive for Panleuk 2 days after we had completely sanitized the entire room, took everything out, sanitized it, put everything back in, and I was like, we're done. Panleuk, we don't know her. We're over, it's done. Nope. Mushroom was like, bet, I got this. So on top of needing to be tube fed and paid extra attention to, he had Panleuk, which was wild. Super fun, good time. So as Mushroom got older, it was apparent that he needed buds, and we had a couple other kittens who were bottle babies that had come into the rescue that made their way down here to become his friends. And that is when Fern and Toad entered the chat. Fern came in very spicy and unsure of everything, but as we know, she turned into like the loveliest, most beautiful girl. And Toad, again, no brains. Not two brain cells between those three to rub together. She had surprise ringworm as well, which was hilarious because let me tell you what happened. So I had let them out of their little playpen to run around because everyone had completed their 2-week quarantine. And I said, oh, everyone's safe. I let them all run around, and she went under like the fridge, which there's like a little place to get her under, and I got her out, and I was like, man, that would be unfortunate if she had ringworm, because then it would be in all these weird crevices. She had ringworm. I discovered that 10 minutes later. So that was exciting. And then Mushroom, of course, contracted ringworm. But that's okay, because in the end, Mushroom and Fern got adopted together, and Toad is in her forever home, a wonderful, happy, healthy girl. Our next baby was not with us long, but if you remember, we rescued Pika from the farm as well. He had a really horribly injured leg, and we took him to the vet, and the vet amputated it, and unfortunately he just never recovered from surgery. So he was with us a very short time, but we love him just the same. Next, we had Oogie Boogie. Oh, we know Oogie Boogie, outdoor lawn and garden. So when I got back from my trip, I got a call from my friend, and she said, hey, there's a kitten at Walmart, can you come get them? And I said, oh yeah, watch me. So I snuck a trap into Walmart, hung out for like a minute because she was very food motivated, and then snuck her out of Walmart. That is how we met outdoor lawn and garden. She started out pretty spicy, but mellowed out really fast, and she's now adopted with her foster brother, Igor, who we trapped at a different location a few days after trapping her. Now initially we were very full and we weren't going to take on new kittens, but once we trapped Igor, it was very apparent that he was incredibly friendly. Insert friendly Igor videos here. And so we kept him, and his brother Boris and Svetlana, who are still with us. So the year is almost over. We are nearing the end because we still have those two with us. So Igor and Olga got adopted together. They are living their best life with their new mom. Boris and Svetlana were joined by Katya from the same colony. Right around the time that we rescued outdoor lawn and garden, Olga, is when Britta came into our lives. Britta, Aussie, Lock, Shock, and Barrel all came in around the same time. There were so many kittens this year. Britta was diagnosed with FIP as well as Aussie. They completed their 30-day treatment at the end of December, and they are currently on observation until end of March. Lock, Shock, and Barrel were just great kitties. They were healthy, happy, sweet, perfect angels. and they also have all been adopted. Of course, in July, Iron came to us and he hung out with me until he finally got adopted in November, and he is living his best life with his new mom in Ohio. Then, as we thought kitten season was totally winding down, it was not, and we found that out very fast. We were TNRing a different colony that we had gotten wind of was being poisoned or was threatened to be poisoned. We never found evidence of poisoning, but we figured it's probably best if we go ahead and just start getting everyone fixed and, you know, doing our part the best we can to reduce the number of cats in that area. So we brought her mom out, we got her fixed, we brought her back, and as I brought her back, I remember seeing this little black dot on the side of the road, and that was Rougarou. And as I approached little Rougarou, this sick little all-black kitten, I saw 4 little kittens in the background, and thus the Cryptic crew. Some of the worst eye infections I've ever seen. They were very sick, a little bit hissy, and they had some of the worst poops, again, that I have ever witnessed. It was horrific. And again, we didn't really have space, but what are you gonna do when you show up and there's 5 sick kittens on the side of the road? Hope nothing happens? No, that's irresponsible. So we took them on. Then, as we thought kitten season was winding down again, we brought on Stranger in Danger. Stranger, as you know, had her eye pecked by a chicken. We thought she was gonna lose it. Turns out, all good. Danger, who we thought was a boy, couldn't pee for a while. Turns out she's just a girl, probably had a UTI. Stranger also bit off the end of a tube. Loved that for me, but has since passed it and is a healthy little girl. These guys were with us for a little bit. They were very screamy, if we remember. But now they're with a different foster and are still up for adoption, but hopefully they will be adopted very soon. I should also mention that Boris, Svetlana, and Katya are... Oh, that was Svetlana, if you couldn't tell. Svetlana, Boris, and Katya are still up for adoption as well. So if you guys want to add some sweet babies to your life, that link is also below. Oh my gosh. And then finally, the final kittens that came through the house, besides Hoot. Hootie Booty is also here. She kind of joined us haphazardly because her other 2 siblings got adopted and she didn't. But she's a sweet, shy little girl. I love Hootie Booty. The final 2 kittens to join our house in 2022 were the Rugrats. Tommy, Chucky, and Angelica. Little hissy, but actually very sweet babies. Chucky had to get his eye removed. That meant everyone got to stay. They became very sweet overnight, and they have since been adopted. We remember Tommy. He was very hissy. Now he's very sweet. Chucky, always a chaotic king. And Angelica was just a shy little baby who finally came around right before she got adopted. And of course, the year cannot be complete. We cannot complete the circle of 2022 without talking about Benji, not Benji, Orange Benji, not Orange Benji, and Fluffy Benji. We also now have Cowboy, which is Cow Benji. It's getting wild over here. So there's 2 groups. There's one group of cats that are already fixed. That's Benji, not Benji, and Fluffy Benji. They're already fixed. Then Orange Benji, not Orange Benji, and Cowboy are not fixed. I have found the house that I believe that they are coming from. So that is going to be my challenge of early this year, is to get them all TNR'd before any kittens are born in my neighborhood, because how insulting is that? But we also know that Oogie started out very, Orange Benji, Oogie, started out very feral, and he is now a sweet guy. I don't know if he wants to be an indoor guy, but he definitely wants to be a guy. I think that wraps up 2022. I also completed my vet school application in September, and we should know by end of January if I'm going to vet school or not, which will be very exciting. My dream is to have my own clinic. That would be a high volume, low cost, high quality clinic where we could help some of these people who love and care about their pets so much, but simply can't afford the ever increasing vet costs of our world. So yeah, that's 2022. I hope to see you guys at the Screamies. It's gonna be a good time. We have a lot of upgrades this year. If you want, you can go look at last year's Screamies It was a good time. It was a very last minute idea that we made happen, and this year it's a little bit more planned, so it should be a little bit better. Maybe a little bit more interactive. Will there be kittens live? Yes, I'm hoping so, but we shall see. Anyway, I love you. I appreciate you. Okay guys, save the date for the Screamies. Donate if you can. I love you, bye. Pineapple juice.